Welcome back to the Double Leg. I'm one half of the show, Hey Jai Picks. The other half of the show, the Parlay, joining me in to break down some UFC Vegas 78, Vicente Luque versus Rafael dos Anjos. Let's get in. Another week of fights. We got Contender Series starting tomorrow. So if you haven't already, go check out that video we did to get all the inside scoop on what's going on with the NY Contender Series. But we got 12 fights this Saturday. Fight night back at the Apex, headlined by Luque and dos Anjos. Co-main event, Cub Swanson, Akeem Dawadou. What do you think of the card?
Yeah, not like it feels like a card that they kind of scrapped together. I mean, we have a lot of big events in, the last few weeks, last few months even, and then a big one coming up in Boston, and then a big fall. So it's, it's going to be some lower level guys, not necessarily lower level, but kind of newer guys that aren't maybe a household name quite yet. But there are some exciting fighters on this card, and there's some sneaky good matchups stylistically. So overall, if you tune in Saturday, I think you're going to see some fun fights.
Yeah, not a ton of, very successful fighters on this card. A lot of guys with losses, a lot of females with losses. But overall, I mean, it seems like every Saturday, rarely are you disappointed in watching the fights for the night. So this is what we're getting, the Apex card. If you want to get in on the premium membership, click the link in the description there. You can get all of our bets there. We're going to go through and give our picks for these fights as we break them down. But if you want our bets, go join the premium membership. It'll get you every single UFC card for 30 days at less than $1 a day. You can't go wrong there. And without any further ado, let's get into it with the main event. Vicente Luque and Rafael dos Anjos, a welterweight main event here. Luque sitting at -110. Dos Anjos -120 as a slight favorite. Over under 4.5 rounds, +110 for the over, -140 for the under. Both men 3-2 in their last 5. You got dos Anjos, the legend, the man that's been around for a very long time. You see all those fights he's got under his belt there, 46 to be exact. This will be his 47th fight. So, I mean, a wealth of experience for dos Anjos. Luque, he's got a good amount of fights under his belt as well. Coming off back-to-back losses, though, he had to take a year off, basically. I mean, the last time he was out was exactly a year ago. And one day. That was when he fought Jeff Neal. That was a co-main event. He got the brakes kind of beat off him in that one. That was his second loss in a row. He lost to Bilal Muhammad earlier in the year of 2022. And that one, it was a bad showing, very bad showing, and it kind of exposed a lot of stuff that Luque has showed throughout his career, his willingness to just walk you down and exchange hands with you. The wrestling is not great. He doesn't, I mean, the submission game is good. The BJJ is good, but the wrestling game hasn't been great, and he really should have looked to use that more in the fight. He really was not successful with that. I don't know what the game plan was. He was getting hit in the face over and over and over again. Never shot a takedown, and ultimately gets TKO'd in the 3rd round. A nasty performance. Takes a year off, comes back here against RDA, who, he's been up and down, but he's looked pretty good as of late. I mean, he's 3-1 in his last 4. His only losses to Rafael Fiziev, which was a main event. That was a 5-round main event. He lost in the 5th round, got knocked out there, but wins over Barberena. Easy sub win there. A domination of Renato Moicano. Moicano took it on short notice. That was a 5-round co-main event. And then a 5-round split decision win over Paul Felder, which was a pretty clear win if you ask anybody other than Chris Lee. But yeah, the guy, he's skilled everywhere the fight goes. Luque, he's always going to come to scrap, so this should be a good one. Who you leaning with?
Yeah, it makes it tough because of the circumstances surrounding Vicente Luque. Like, if you're talking about 2020 Vicente Luque, I'm picking him here all day long, especially at 170, where he's going to be naturally bigger than RDA. But, he is coming off of 2 losses, one to Bilal, who we found out since then and before then is, one of the best fighters in the division. And then he just got pieced up by Jeff Neal, has the brain bleed that is concerning. I know he had to take the year off and recover, and, hopefully he's ready to go. But, I mean, that's concerning to me, at least, having that bad of an injury. But you look at both these guys, and they've only fought the top-level competition in the last couple of years. Luque, like I said, Neal, Muhammad, Tyron Woodley, Nico Price, Randy Brown before that. And for RDA, fighting Brian Barberina, Rafael Fiziev, Renato Moicano, Paul Felder, loses to Chiesa and Leon Edwards. So both guys are obviously experienced. Both guys can be pretty durable, even though they're coming off knockout losses. Before that, they're both, are able to go to the distance if they need to. And the big thing that sticks out to me is this fight's at 170 for RDA and not 155. So as far as getting the takedowns and trying to get this thing to the mat where he wants to dominate and control, I think it's going to be a little harder for him against Luque, who's strong, decently sized, and, gets taken down, but he's not horrible on the takedown defense. It's like at 60%, and RDA's offensively taking guys down at a 35% clip. So, if it goes to the ground too, I don't think RDA is going to sub Luque. I think it'd be more control. And if it stays on the feet, it is kind of even, but I'm going to lean Vicente Luque a little bit. And hopefully the old Luque shows up. I mean, he throws a lot more volume than RDA. He does have a slightly negative strike differential, meaning he gets hit with a little more than he throws, but it's pretty even. So I just feel like in this spot for Luque, it's kind of do or die. I mean, he's the younger fighter here. RDA is probably not going to go on a big title run by any means. He's older. He's closer to 40. Luque is, just 32 or 3. And it's now or never for him coming off these 2 losses to 2 of the top guys. So I got to lean Vicente Luque, especially at even money. I'd take a chance on him here. I think he's going to come out with something to prove.
Yeah, this is a really tough one. I mean, obviously priced very close. It's a 5-round fight, and I don't believe Luque has really looked that great in the only 5-round fight that he had was against Bilal Muhammad. Didn't look that great in that one. He got pretty much dominated in that one. And he had some good rounds, but overall, I mean, Bilal just looked like he had the better game plan. And that's ultimately what it comes back to with me for Luque. It's like, what's the game plan here? Are you going to just go with the same game plan of walk him down and pressure him and throw, take one to throw one type of game plan? Or are you going to switch it up? Or are you going to go with your own offensive wrestling for Luque or for RDA? I mean, he's going to mix it up wherever he wants to and whenever he wants to. I mean, he's had success with it throughout his entire career. This is a tough one. I mean, if Luque drops to more of a dog, I tend to favor that one. So in this spot, I kind of think dog or pass. Like, you're just getting the better value on the guy with the lower price tag. But it's a pretty solid coin flip to me. For the sake of the show, I'm going to go with Luque because he is the slight underdog in this one. But I think it's a fun fight because both guys are one guy's at a point in his career where he could really turn it around and get back on track. The other guy, he's a veteran, and he's just, I don't want to call him a gatekeeper, but he's like the test. Like, if you can't get past RDA, probably not going to get past, the rest of the division, or at least in this spot. You got to get back on track against a guy like RDA. That's a tough task. For the sake of the show, I'm going to go with Luque, though. Co-main event, Cub Swanson coming in here at plus 185 in a featherweight bout against Hakeem Dawadou, sitting at minus 225. Over-under 2.5 rounds, minus 145 for the over, plus 115 for the under. 39 years of age for Cub Swanson, another guy with a ton of experience, 3-2 in his last 5 for both men. Both men 5'8", and 72-inch reach for Dawadou, 2 inches advantage there. 32 years of age for him. Dawadou, pretty much, if you know anything about him, he's going to want to stand and kickbox with you. That's his go-to. That's his specialty. Cub Swanson is probably going to be down to do that. But if you look at the last performance from Dawadou, missed weight against Julian Erosa and kind of got out kickboxed against Julian Erosa. Erosa mixed in some takedowns here and there, but overall outlanded Hakeem, who, if you're standing with Hakeem and you're outboxing him or out kickboxing him, that probably means that Hakeem's having a bad night. So he didn't have a good showing his last time out. But you go before that, he had a really good show against Trezano, and then a loss to Movsar Evloev. And for Cub Swanson, he went down to 135, fought Jonathan Martinez, and then said, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going back to 145. Got his leg kicked out from under him, comes back to 145, and now he's facing Akeem Dawadou, who's not a tough task, coming in as a pretty, I don't want to say big dog, but a sizable underdog. Dawadou sitting at minus 225. Who you liking in this one?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this line is going to grow a little bit as we get closer to the fight. I think Dawadou is going to become a little bit bigger of a favorite. And I love Cub Swanson. But the last fight against Jonathan Martinez with the leg kicks, I mean, that's kind of, a style that Dawadou can impose. And he's going to see that last fight and, see his path to victory and where he's going to have success in this fight. I mean, Cub Swanson's, is he 40 yet? He's going to be 40 in November. I hate that as well. What's that? Is he 39? Yeah.
He's going to be 39.
He'll be 39. Yeah. I hate that as well. He's had a long career. He's taken some damage. I mean, we've seen in some past fights him, against Chikadze with that nasty kick. And then Jonathan Martinez just beat the legs off of him. And, if Dawadou can keep it on the feet, which he should be able to here, I don't think Cubs wrestling is, it's good, but it's not at this age and against a guy who's athletic and strong like Dawadou. I don't think he's going to drag him down with ease to the ground and on the feet, man. I just see Dawadou being able to impose his game plan, and he hits hard. He's got good volume. He'll strike with you for 3 rounds. I mean, we saw against Trezano, he landed 141 strikes over the course of 3 rounds, wins a decision. His losses even went to decision against Evloev, where he got taken down 9 times. But in the fight, striking-wise, he was able to kind of, when it was on the feet, get some back and land some volume and make the strikes even. And then Erosa obviously got a couple takedowns and outstruck him where he couldn't really do much when the fight got to the ground. But I don't see it going there. And I see a kickboxing match and a guy who's younger, faster, and, overall maybe a little more durable than Cub Swanson at this time. So I do think Dawadou gets the win.
Yeah, I like Dawadou. The only thing is, if you backed him as a favorite, he's let you down a couple times in the past. He got guillotine choked in his UFC debut as a minus 245 favorite, and then last time out missed weight as a minus 220 favorite and loses. He's sitting around the same price here. I would maybe look to see how he looks, at weigh-ins, and if he has a smooth weight cut, I'd be more confident in him. But I do think it's a favorable matchup for him. Cub Swanson's got a lot of miles on his body and nearing 40 years old. Dawadou, much younger, and probably going to be a little bit more active on the feet. Cub Swanson is going to look to land some powerful shots. Dawadou, very active on the feet. I like the volume, so I'm going to go with Dawadou. Light heavyweight bout here. Khalil Rountree coming in at minus 189 against Chris Daukas, making his light heavyweight debut at plus 159. Over under 1.5 rounds, plus 150 for the over, minus 180 for the under. Daukas, it's been a rough patch for him. He is 2-3 in his last 5, 3-fight losing streak for him, 3-fight knockout loss streak for him as well. Both men 33 years of age. Khalil Rountree coming off of some good performances in recent memory, but he's getting a task here in Chris Daukas that, who knows how he's going to look at 205. I always looked at him and thought he could probably make 205 if he really wanted to. And it looks like he finally came to that realization too. Sometimes it's just easier to be a heavyweight. I've talked about this before. It's the level of heavyweights it's a big drop off after the top 10. So sometimes it's just easier to be that guy that's the heavyweight and can go in there and swing bombs and you don't have to cut weight. But he chose I think it's the tougher path to cut weight, go down to 205, fight a guy like Khalil Rountree, who's not a tough task. And he's looked really good as of recently. He showed up in shape his past 3 fights, and he's on a 3-fight winning streak. Last one was a split decision win over Dustin Jacoby back in October, which was controversial. But in this one, coming in as the favorite, he's got big power. Daukas has struggled with the big power. As of recently, do you think he can get it done?
The one thing I hate for Chris Daukas here is moving down to 205, even though it's not like the biggest move. I think his last weigh-in was 242.5 pounds. So it's not like he's at 265 or cutting to 205, but being on this knockout loss streak, and then cutting down to a lower weight class where guys are faster, guys still hit hard, is a little concerning to me. And you look at the guys he got knocked out by: Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Derek Lewis, obviously, knockout king. I mean, Blades in the second round getting knocked out by him. Iffy, but Rozenstruik's obviously got some power too. But if you think about the hardest hitters at 205, I mean, Khalil Rountree comes to mind as far as, that part of that division. I mean, and he also showed, which was good for him in his last fight, I think, that not his last fight, but the fight before, Dustin Jacoby, he went all 3 rounds with Jacoby, who we saw just get the first round knockout. Jacoby's a glory kickboxer, fought the best of the best there, is good, durable, hits hard, and he was able to survive all that and somehow get the split decision win, regardless if it was, controversial or not. He made it close enough to where he got the win. So yeah, I mean, seeing that makes me really like Rountree to get this thing done. He's just got to watch out early for Daukas, I think. I think if it gets past 1, Rountree can just kind of beat up the legs and do damage throughout the next 2 rounds. If he survives early and he could even catch Daukas early, I think Khalil Rountree will get the win. I just hate that Daukas is, on this losing streak, and it's not just, he's losing decisions or split decisions. He's getting knocked out. And, you make a weight cut now, and then you go out there against another hard hitter. It just doesn't seem like the best recipe. But so, yeah, for the pick, I'm just going to stick with Khalil Rountree.
Yeah, it's like you could look at it 2 different ways. It's like he's got nothing to lose. He's probably got everything. It's kind of do or die for Chris Daukas at this point. It's like, all right, he made the change, goes down to 205. Will it work out? We will see. It's tough to get behind, though. It's super tough to get behind because, yes, you could look at it and say Derek Lewis, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 2 guys with big power, but then you're getting knocked out like kind of clean on the feet by Curtis Blades. Like Curtis Blades, I think that's the only guy that he's knocked out on the feet like in his entire career. Not a big like power puncher with the standing striking game, big ground and pound guy, but he got caught right at the beginning of the second round there. Like you said, I mean, going down to 205, these guys are a lot faster, and I don't think they're like much smaller. Like, you just think about these guys, they probably cut weight down to 205 and then balloon up to 225, 230 fight day. Chris Daukas is probably going to be around the same size. It's not like he's going to balloon all the way back up to a heavyweight size. So I don't think he's going to have like some big advantage coming down to 205. I honestly think it might work out worse for him. Maybe, because he's going up against like a Derek Lewis, who's every bit of 265. The power is not going to get to him as much, but I think Khalil Rountree's got some big, big power. The only thing is like Khalil he has no takedown threat whatsoever. I mean, he's 0% takedown accuracy. He never landed a takedown. Chris Daukas can just, if he could be safe on the feet and look to pick his shots, I think it'd be a lot better. But it's gonna be tough to like go in there 3 knockouts in a row and be like have confidence in your striking game.
Right?
Will Khalil Rountree be able to defend a takedown? Maybe Daukas looks to go that way, but I don't know. It's just not really his MO. Khalil Rountree's had quite the resurgence as of recently. I mean, he once lost to Marcin Prachnio, was a -400 favorite, then comes back, 3-fight win streak. He's looked pretty good. I think you got to go with him. I mean, if you're taking Chris Daukas in this spot, it's kind of a hope, man. It's like you're like, all right, I'm taking this guy just as a hope, because you can't really look at anything recently and be like, yeah, this is why he wins. Got to go Khalil. Strawweight fight here. Polyana Viana coming in at +140 against Yasmin Lucindo, sitting at -170. Over under 2.5 rounds, -180 for the over, +150 for the under. Lucindo, 21 years of age. She started her professional career very, very young. I believe it was 14 or 15 years old. So she's got a good amount of experience for a 21-year-old, but she's coming in here against Polyana Viana, who is 31 years old, and she's had more UFC experience than Lucindo. and 3-2 in her last 5. She's coming off a big first-round knockout win, which was one of her few knockouts in her career. 47 seconds into the first round, she takes out Jinyu Fry and like kind of flatlines her, which was wild to see because we haven't really seen that from Polyana Viana much. She's known for her submission game. She's got 8 submissions on her record, 7 in the first round. She's got 5 TKOs in the first round, and all of her wins come by finish. So she is a pure finisher. Lucindo, very solid striking on the feet. We saw her against Yasmin Haraguay. She looked pretty good. She stood in there with her. Next fight out, she completely demolishes Brogan Walker, who probably won't be in the UFC much longer, honestly. But Lucindo is young, and she looks like a good prospect. The only problem I see here is, like, she's lost by sub 3 times, and Polyana Viana has got some pretty damn good submissions. I think on the feet, Lucindo has a good edge with the volume and the speed. Viana has some solid power and some good length. But if Lucindo tries to take her down, I don't know if that's going to work out well for her. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking the same way. Like you see against Brogan Walker for Lucindo, obviously looked phenomenal on the feet, was piecing her up. She's fast, and she's really technical too. But then, you know, right when she gets a striking going, she'll mix it up and take you to the ground. And I think, you know, there's a chance with Polyana Viana's last fight, you know, that was a clean TKO. I mean, she dropped Jinyu Fry, and I was impressed by it because you're normally seeing her, you know, go for the arm bars and getting the fight to the ground and that things of that sort. So if Lucindo comes in here and starts touching her up, or sorry, the other way, sorry. If Polyana Viana comes in here and starts landing some decent power shots on Lucindo, Lucindo might, you know, think, okay, I need to get this to the ground. I'm capable. I have good takedowns. And the next thing you know, you're caught in an arm bar because the arm bars are slick from Polyana. God dang, I can never. Too many Anas on this. Polyana Viana. You know, when she does get the armbar in, it's usually fast. She's sneaky with it. And like I said, she's got 8 submissions on her record. So you have to watch out for her on the ground. You know, it's kind of a resurgence from her too. She had the 3 losses in a row to Veronica Hardy, Hannah Cyphers, JJ Aldrich, and then goes on a little win streak for Emily Whitmire and Mallory Martin. Loses to Tabitha Ricci, which is understandable because Tabitha's a beast. And then gets the KO against Jinyu Fry. So I think it's a pretty even fight for a lot of factors. Like on the feet, speed, technicalities, and volume, probably Jasmine Lucindo. But if this thing hits the mat, Polyana Viana off her back is super, super dangerous. And it's women's MMA, so it's hard not to want to take a shot at the dog here, especially one that just showed she's more than submissions in her last fight. So for the pick, I think Lucindo's good enough to get this thing done, keep it where she wants to. But it's dicey, man. As far as betting goes, I'm going to wait a little bit. My pick's going to be Jasmine Lucindo, but looking at her record, she's been subbed twice. So it's a dicey one for women's MMA.
Yeah, I think you might honestly be better taking it live. If you like the Lucindo side, take it live after round 1 because Viana, all of her wins have come in the first round other than 1. So, I mean, she's going to be most dangerous in the first round. Obviously, you know, if you're dry, you're going to get more submissions when you're dry. That's kind of her MO. So if you like the Lucindo side, I would honestly maybe wait till after round 1 and take it live. For the sake of the show, I'm going to go with the dog, Polyana Viana, though. It's just a women's dog shot. 21 years of age for Lucindo. I think she goes in here, I don't know, maybe a little bit overconfident or just not with a great game plan. And I think she gets caught with something. So for the sake of the show, I'm going to go with Polyana Viana. A middleweight bout here. Nchukwi coming in at -140 against AJ Dobson, who sits at +110. Over under 2.5 rounds, -115 for the over and the under. Nchukwi 6-3 in his record, 6-2 for AJ Dobson. So a couple of guys with not even 10 fights under their record, but a couple fights in the UFC. 31 years of age for Dobson, 28 years of age for Nchukwi. 2-3 in his last 5 for Nchukwi, 3-2 for Dobson. And if you look at Nchukwi in the picture, the man looks a little bit thicker than AJ Dobson. The reason for that is he is coming down from 205. He last fought at 205, and he's coming down to middleweight. Wonder how he's going to look on the scales, if he can make it, because he's a pretty thick dude. He's only 6 foot, but he has a big body. And he he's on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Carlos Ulberg, got knocked out in the first round. Lost to Azamat Murzakanov, got knocked out in the third round. He honestly didn't look too bad in that fight until he got caught. And it was like looking to be some kind of disappointing performance for Murzakanov, but then he just catches him with the knee in the third, and it was a good win there. But for Nchukwi, you'll see a lot of kicks. It's not like I don't want to say like not technical, but he's not setting much up. It's kind of like naked throws with the hands, naked throws with the kicks. It's not a lot of, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, anything like that. It's just like a here and there type of striking for AJ Dobson. He's 0-2 in the UFC, losses to Petrosian and Malkoun, got dominated on the ground by Malkoun, and just got out volume by Petrosian. So, I mean, he's lost both ways. In this one, it's kind of a tough one to pick because we haven't seen like the greatest from either guy. So I don't know if you're buying much on either side, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, we haven't seen too much from either guy. And from what I've seen against Tafon, I think I like his side a little bit more here, especially coming down to middleweight from 205. I think it benefits him more in this fight. If he was fighting a striker, like a pure striker, I think he'd, maybe struggle a little bit because you got to worry about that chin dropping all that weight. So that's a 20-pound cut. It's not like you're moving from lightweight to featherweight or something. It's a decent sized cut down. AJ Dobson is going to look to wrestle some point in this fight. And Tafon's got a 71% takedown defense. He's landed takedowns of his own. He's going to be stronger. I think, you can see in the picture, the dude is jacked. And, he's going to be an inch shorter. A lot of muscle. He's super strong. I think he's going to be harder to take down, especially, being used to those 205ers. And now you're just stuffing takedowns from 185er. I think it benefits him a little bit. And on the feet, he's got pretty good volume for a bigger dude like that. And he's gone a decision. He's won decisions. He put up 120 strikes against Jamie Pickett in a 3-round fight and just beat the brakes off of him. Had a knockdown in that fight. Props to Jamie for surviving. Beats Mike Rodriguez. Loses a majority decision to Jung Young Park. And you touched on the Azamat Murzakanov and Carlos Ulberg fights. So, he's fought good guys. He really has. You look at Ulberg, the dude is a savage. That fight didn't last long at all, but he is a savage. Azamat Murzakanov just beat Dustin Jacoby, and he's still undefeated. So he's fighting good dudes. AJ Dobson, 0-2 in the UFC. If he can't get the fight to the ground, I think as the fight goes on, it's just going to be Tafon taking over on the feet, landing bigger shots, landing more volume. And if that's the way the fight plays out, I think he gets the win here over Dobson.
Yeah, this is like it's a weird one because I look at the Malkoun fight for Dobson and be like, okay, if he was piecing him up on the feet in the first round, so maybe he's got some pretty solid striking, and then you go and fight Petrosian, who's like a great kickboxer. You're probably not going to beat him kickboxing. Dobson goes for the takedowns. So in this one, I'm wondering what his game plan is going to be, and if it's a stand-up battle, which I kind of think is the way he's going to go about it, is to like want to kickbox with Nchukwi. I think it could be a close fight, and I think we could maybe see more out of AJ Dobson for Nchukwi. I want to see what he looks like on the scales coming down to 185 because he came into the UFC at 185, obviously fought Jun Young Park at 185 and lost, and then moves up to 205. But I want to see what he looks like. For the sake of the show, I'm going to go with AJ Dobson, just taking a slight dog here because he trains with Matt Brown too. I don't know if that helps any bit, but I think he kind of needs a win here too to even like keep his job. So I'm going to take him.
Yep.
A middleweight bout here. Jamie Pickett back in action, sitting at plus 240 against Josh Fremd, who's coming in at minus 330. Over under 1.5 rounds, minus 170 for the over, plus 140 for the under. Jamie Pickett 2-3 in his last 5, 3-2 in his last 5 for Josh Fremd. 34 years of age for Jamie Pickett, 13-9 in his professional career. 80-inch reach for him, though. Couple of bigger guys. Josh Fremd, 6'4". Jamie Pickett got that long reach, sitting at 6'2". We kind of, if you don't know the deal, you probably got to, do your homework a little bit, but that's why you're here. Jamie Pickett last time out gets taken out by Bo Nickel, gets fed to the wolves. in Bo Nickel, and he gets submitted in the first round. It's been a rough, I want to say a rough go about for him because, I mean, he got 3 shots on the Contender Series, losses 2, his first 2, and then won the third one, gets a contract, comes in, loses 2 in a row, wins 2 in a row, and now he's lost 3 in a row. So I want to say up and down, but the ups haven't been great and the downs have been pretty bad. And we're coming in here against Josh Fremd, who got a big win in his last time out. I mean, lost his first 2 fights in the UFC and then gets a win against Dumas. Looked pretty good in that one, but he's coming in as a big favorite. What are you thinking?
I don't like the price, but I like Fremd here. I don't know, betting wise, like, it's just so, I don't even want to say low level, but there's so many unknowns with Fremd still. Like, he got the win over Dumas, but outside of that, like, you know, we saw him get knocked out or subbed by Tresean Gore, about popped his head off. He loses to Anthony Hernandez. We really haven't seen him against the guy who, in Jamie Pickett, who, like, you know, he'll stuff some takedowns, will try to clinch and grapple with you as well. And on the feet, Jamie Pickett just doesn't impress anybody, I don't think. I don't think he's ever landed more than 60 strikes in a fight. So he's lower volume. It's not really his game plan to go out there and get in these brawls with dudes and knock dudes out by any means. And Fremd, you know, I just feel like we got more to see from him. You know, beating Dumas was super impressive because a lot of people were hyped on Dumas because of the athleticism and the, you know, the head kicks, knockouts he has and submissions. But he crashed that party pretty quick. He got a couple takedowns on Dumas, and you know, we all know how that went from there with the sub in the second round. I don't know how you pick Jamie Pickett at this point, just based off what we've seen from him. You know, knocked out by Dennis Tululin, subbed by Kyle Daukas, and then Bo Nickel obviously subbed him. But in the Bo Nickel fight, he did a pretty good job holding his own against the cage for a bit until he got kneed in the nuts and then taken down. You know, I'm not going to say I was super impressed with him, but he is a strong dude, and he was able to hold himself up for a little bit and then had no answer, obviously, when he was off his back. So overall, I think Josh Fremd wins this fight, but the line's a little wide and crazy to even be confident when you're talking about these 2 types of fighters.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't love the price, but it's like, how can you get behind Jamie Pickett?
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised he's back with another fight. I'm guessing maybe just because he took the Bo Nickel fight that they're like, you know, we'll get you one here, one more shot, and if you could pull it off, I don't know, maybe we'll keep you, maybe we'll cut you. But for Josh Fremd, he is still 29 years old, and he went to a decision with Anthony Hernandez on short notice too. I mean, that's tough to do. Like, Anthony Hernandez has been breaking guys ever since he fought Josh Fremd. So that kind of ages pretty well. The loss to Tresean Gore does not. I mean, that was like just a bad performance, but comes out and gets a good win. He trains at a good camp. I don't love the price, but I think you got to go with him for the pick. So that's the way I'm going to go. Josh Fremd getting it done. Yeah. With submission skills. And, you know, Jamie Pickett was submitted his last time out. So,
yeah, I mean, think of it this way for Fremd. Like, Anthony Hernandez went out there and subbed Rodolfo Vieira, Marc-Andre Barrio, and then knocked out Edmund Shabazian. And Josh Fremd was able to survive 3 rounds with him and even get 1 takedown of his own on him. So, you know, that's a little positive if you think of it in that light.
Yeah. Bantamweight bout here. JP Buys coming in at plus 260 against Marcus McGhee, who sits at minus 360. Over under 1.5 rounds, plus 115 for the over, minus 145 for the under. Marcus McGhee came in on short notice in his debut and got a big win. 33 years of age. JP Buys only 27, 2-3 in his last 5. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. 0-3 in the UFC. This man, he needs a win. He needs a win badly, probably to keep his job. Marcus McGhee, like I said, came in and got a round 2 finish in his debut against Journey Newson on short notice. Gets the performance bonus as well. Goes out and gets himself a nice little Rolex. Comes in here against JP Buys as a big favorite. JP Buys has been training at the PI or in Vegas with the likes of everybody that trains there. What's his name? Marcus McGhee. Trains at MMA Masters. That's the gym you see like Jared Cannonier, Sean O'Malley, those guys down in Arizona. JP Buys needs a win badly. His back is against the wall. Could pull something off, He's got a good ground game. If he gets into the ground early, it's going to be where he's most dangerous. Marcus McGhee has been submitted one time. That's his only loss. But on the feet, he's got big power, and he has some good offensive submissions as well. He got one out as his last time out. But big favorite here. Do you think he gets it done?
This fight kind of scares the shit out of me because everybody's going to be super high on McGhee and low on JP Buys. But, you know, JP Buys, like you said, if he gets the fight to the ground and the early going, like, he's dangerous. And in the fight that McGhee lost in LFA, his back was taken pretty damn easy in round 1 and then lost via rear naked choke. Hasn't happened since. But, I mean, it was only just a month over a year ago. I mean, it's just 13 months ago that happened. From there, he got some knockouts and a submission, obviously, against Journey Newsom, and came in a super short notice against Journey Newsom. And I didn't know what to expect with Marcus McGhee, but he looked really good. And then I got to thinking, like, okay, this guy's a stud. And I think, okay, but what kind of fighter really is Journey Newsom? Like, maybe you should have seen that coming. So it's hard to judge, like, where McGee's actually at, especially only having that one fight in the UFC. Obviously, we know Buys is on a 3-fight losing streak, but he's losing to Bruno Silva, who's good, Montel Jackson, and Cody Durden, who we just saw with the upset win over Jake Hadley this weekend. So he's fighting pretty decent guys in his early stages of his UFC career. Against Montel Jackson, he got knocked down 4 times. He got taken down 4 times, but he scored a takedown of his own. Actually moved all the way into full mount against Jackson and had some sub attempts in there. So that just alludes back to your thing saying he's dangerous on the ground. And if he can get it there while he's dry, not sweaty, he's got a chance to, you know, at least put the fight in some interesting situations and, you know, work for a finish, possibly. But I think it's got to be early. I agree with you on that. McGhee, it's kind of a guy you don't know. Like, is he going to come in here and be a stud in the UFC? Sure looked like it in his first fight, but like I said earlier, against who? I think McGhee should win this fight, but this price is crazy, in my opinion. This is do or die for JP Buys. 3-fight losing streak early on in your UFC career is never good. Could be on the chopping block if he doesn't get it done. But strange things happen in this sport, especially on cards like this. So, yeah, man, I'm going to take Marcus McGhee for the pick, but not going to bet on him whatsoever.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, Marcus McGhee I will not be betting on Marcus McGhee on the money line at least, because I think this is like an overreaction for just based off of Buys, you know, or you could say recency bias. Buys' last 3 fights are losses. He's been knocked down a total of 8 times in those 3 losses. And McGhee coming in as a dog on short notice, getting a big win in, like, I don't want to say dominant fashion, but he looked pretty good and he made a lot of headlines. So everybody kind of knows him. JP Buys has been off for over a year. He's coming in here. He needs to win bad. And that's a dangerous dude, especially, you know, a guy that has moved over here from South Africa. The dude needs a win. He probably needs a win to, like, I don't know, probably pay his rent and I mean, he's been off for a year. So he's been dealing with all his divorce with Cheyenne Vlismus now and everything. I think that had to deal with some of these losses. But if you look at the Montel Jackson fight, he nearly had Montel Jackson submitted in the first round. And I think if he can come out and do that against Marcus McGhee, he could catch him lacking. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, for the sake of the show, I mean, I guess you got to take Marcus McGhee, but no chance am I taking him on the money line this week. Lightweight bout here, Mike Breeden coming in at plus 224 against Terrence McKinney, who's stepping in on short notice. He comes in at minus 284, over under 1.5 rounds, plus 225 for the over, minus 300 for the under. 1.5 rounds there, and 2-3 in his last 5 for both guys. Mike Breeden coming in as the underdog. He was supposed to take on Lando Venata. McKinney, obviously, we just saw him a few weeks ago take a loss to Nazim Sadikov. He got submitted in the second round. This one, he comes in as the big favorite. He was an underdog in that one. And, I mean, this is another one that's like recency bias. Terrence McKinney hasn't looked good as of recently. He's picking up a couple losses in a row. The hype train, I don't want to say is dying, but it's not looking good at the moment. Comes in here, though, still as a pretty sizable favorite. and maybe just a favorable matchup for him. Maybe a fight that he thinks he can win pretty easily. That's probably why he's taking it, considering he had a loss just a month ago. But Mike Breeden, are you giving him any chance to make it 3 straight losses for Terrence McKinney?
I don't think so. Like you said, McKinney's hype is on life support right now, and the plug's going to get pulled if he loses this one. But I look at the Alexander Hernandez fight for Mike Breeden just 2 fights ago, and he was pressured in the first round. He kind of got the kitchen sink thrown at him by Alexander Hernandez, and then obviously lost that fight in the first round by stoppage. And that's exactly the style that Terrence McKinney shows in the first round. He'll come out, he'll get in your face, he'll throw the kitchen sink at you and, try to get you out of there. And he's super powerful and explosive, especially in the first 5 minutes. So he's definitely capable. I mean, this dude put down Matt Frevola, and nobody's doing that. Frevola's knocking everybody out now. Nobody can touch him, not Drew Dober, not anybody. But Terrence McKinney was able to right off the bat. So this is a get-right spot for McKinney. I was hoping he wouldn't come in here as such a big favorite because I was going to hammer him if he was anywhere near – minus 150 to 200. I think that would have been, playable for him because he does have that wrestling in the first round as well, and he could get a submission as well. I just don't think Breeden he's not a caliber of fighter that Terrence McKinney's losing to. Like, Terrence McKinney should beat guys like this, especially guys that have been beaten in the first round before. I think McKinney's very capable, and I'll be looking at that number too. First round knockout. I think it's very, very live. And this is kind of a, buy low spot on Terrence McKinney, in my opinion. So I'm going to take him here.
Yeah, I'm going to take him too. Because I just think he knows he can beat this guy. My only question is, like, at what point does the game plan change? And is it going to be this time? Like, the game plan has always been go out there and just throw caution to the wind. He's looked a little bit more calculated as of recently. He's been opening up with the takedowns, or at least trying to go with the takedowns early. It's almost like it's not even like a takedown. It's like find myself with my hands around the waist and just kind of drag him down to the ground so I can get on his back type of thing. And if he does that to Mike Breeden, I think he can finish him. So I think it's probably going to be round 1 sub or maybe round 2. That's getting bold because we don't know how McKinney looks in round 2, but I think it's probably a round 1 sub. If I had to place anything, it's probably the route I'd go. But yeah, I mean, still fairly chalky for a guy that's on back-to-back losses. It's tough. Do think he wins, and he's going to be my pick. But yeah,
here's the thing though for Terrence McKinney, it's like we know he's got the great first round. His game plan maybe needs to change where he conserves a little energy and can last longer. But taking this on short notice, it just feels like he's going to have to go out there and make it first round or bust, being this short notice. So it's interesting. He could come out there ultra aggressive and just look to finish it right away. But if he can't, then what happens? Like, it's such a question mark in this fight.
I mean, once again, it's like, you could just live bet Breeden after round 1. So, I mean, and he's back-to-back second-round losses. You're probably getting a good price after round 1 after he's had his back, the whole round. So, yeah, I mean, probably look at that too. A featherweight bout, Francis Marshall coming in at minus 155 against Isaac Dulgarian, sitting at plus 125, over under 2.5 rounds, plus 110 for the over, minus 140 for the under. Undefeated for Isaac Dulgarian, 27 years of age for him, 24 years of age for Francis Marshall, 4-1 in his last 5. Last time out, caught his first loss to William Goney, and that one was a absolute snoozer until the 3rd round when Francis Marshall decided to get going. It was a lot of punch and air. I mean, if you look at the stats for that one, Francis Marshall landed a whopping 11% of his significant strikes that he attempted, 15 in total. He was punching air. He had a big reach disadvantage in that one, and he could not overcome it. But in this one, he's fighting Isaac Dulgarian as a favorite once again. I am kind of torn on this one. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's tough because Francis Marshall's last fight, you could tell the style to beat him is going to be these longer, rangy guys who, make it hard to close the distance and get in close enough to where you can land your shots. I don't know what he was waiting for against Gomi. I don't know why he waited till the 3rd round. he did get 2 takedowns in the fight. It was a split decision, but I thought he clearly lost as well. So Dulgarian, though, if you look at his record, I mean, he's a wrestler. He's going to wrestle dudes, drag you down, either submit you or TKO, ground and pound. And the one thing that sticks out is he hasn't been past the first round in his pro career. And now you're jumping up a level of competition. You're going, from FAC to the UFC, and you're fighting, Francis Marshall, who's a decent prospect, who is talented, who can wrestle himself. So if you can't get those takedowns and you start getting hit on the feet, or even if you can get the takedowns but can't find the finish, what's going to happen after round 2? Francis Marshall, 5'7", or 5'9", excuse me. Isaac Dulgarian, 5'7". So there is a 2-inch disadvantage for Dulgarian, which Francis Marshall didn't have to deal with didn't have in his last fight, to where he couldn't have success on the feet. So I think if it does stay standing, Francis Marshall's going to shine. He's going to have to weather that storm early, though, because, just from watching film, you can tell Dulgarian is just a tornado in that first round. He'll come out there. He'll implement his game plan. He's imposing when he does. And he's pretty good. Once he gets on top, he's good control. He passes well. He'll submit you. He'll ground and pound. So, yeah, that's just the name of the game here. If you can get it to the ground, it's sketchy in the first round for Francis Marshall. But if you survive, I think it looks good for him. So I'm going to pick Francis Marshall here. I think he's skilled, athletic, and good enough to where you kind of pump the brakes on Dulgarian here. And I think Marshall's going to get the win.
Yeah, it's I like both guys, especially for the future. Dulgarian, 5 straight knockouts all in the first round, as you said, or a couple submissions, I should say. I already got that wrong. But his last time out was against TJ Breeden, who's a 41-year-old, 6'4" featherweight, which is completely different than Francis Marshall. And for Dulgarian, I wonder what the game plan is going to be. I mean, it's probably going to be take him down and do work there, but I think Francis Marshall could probably handle him there. In this one, I like Francis Marshall. I'm not super confident in, though. I think it's probably closer to a 50-50. Maybe Marshall has a good advantage on the feet if he wants to keep it there, but I'll go with Francis Marshall for the pick. I want to keep an eye on it and throughout the week and see where the line moves and everything. But for the sake of the show, I'm going to go with Francis. A heavyweight fight here. Martin Buday coming in at -210 against Josh Parisian, sitting at +170. Over under 1.5 rounds, -245 for the over, +205 for the under. And this is a rough one, I'm not going to lie. Josh Parisian coming in 2-3 in his last 5. Martin Buday 5-0. He hasn't lost in a very long time, but his fights are very greasy. 6'4" for both men. These are some true heavyweights, to say the least. Buday, his last time out, got a win against Jake Collier, and he's undefeated in the UFC. For Josh Parisian, last time out, he lost to Jamal Pogues. His only wins in the UFC are Alan Badeau and Roque Martinez by split. He's lost to Dante Mays and Parker Porter. I've never been very impressed with Josh Parisian. Martin Buday, not super impressive either. What does he do on the feet? He'll throw a good amount. Not a lot of knockouts in the UFC. Actually, 0 knockouts in the UFC. All wins by decision, 3-0. He did get a knockout on the Contender Series, though. I mean, this is a greasy one. His only loss is to Juan Espino, though, which was back in 2017. Espino, if you don't know him, he was a pretty good wrestler back in the day and retired 10-2. He was in the UFC, but he retired, and he wasn't bad at all. So his only loss is to pretty solid opponent. In this one, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's tough. There's things on both sides that make me think each guy has a chance to win here. As crazy as it sounds, this is, like you said, this is as greasy as it gets. First, you got Martin Buday he landed 98 strikes against Jake Collier over the course of 3 rounds. Like a heavyweight, that's pretty decent. He's got decent volume for a big dude. Beats Lucas Brzeski through a decent amount, through the better shots, at least in my opinion. And if you look at his stats, he does have a slightly negative strike differential, but he's throwing over 5 significant strikes landed per minute, which is decent for the heavyweight division. It shows that, the cardio is, I guess, could be decent for a heavyweight. He has 100% takedown defense, which I think is a good thing in this fight against Josh Parisian. And if you look at Josh, he maybe doesn't have the cardio or quite as large for the volume, but in his fights, where's the number? He's finished damn near every one of his wins. So that's something to look at too. I mean, are you going to go with the guy who wins by decision, who's got good kickboxing, doesn't really mess with the wrestling or anything, and has a high, 100% takedown defense? Or are you going to go with the dude in the fight that's going to look to finish the fight wherever it goes, on the ground, on the feet, whatever way he can? Like, it just makes it so hard for me to pick. If I do have to make a pick here at the end of the day, I'm probably not betting on this greasy fight, but I am going to go Martin Buday. I think this fight probably will play out on the feet. I like his volume more. I like how he'll mix in the kicks, and over a course of a 3-round fight, which I think this thing could very easily go. I just think he's going to land more volume, do a little bit more damage to the lead leg, and maybe edge out a decision. But if you can find a win or just a fight ends by split decision prop, I think that could be a good play here, because this is just greasy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is Buday like all day, but like you said, I mean, it's this greasy heavyweight. So, I mean, how confident can you really be? Parisian, he's been losing fights by getting taken down. So that's what kind of worries me here. I mean, his only reason he was losing to Jamal Pogues is because he got taken down. Lost to Dante Mays because he got taken down. Lost to Parker Porter because he got taken down. So his only losses in the UFC are because he got taken down. Buday never landed a takedown and never shot for one. So it's probably going to be a stand-up fight. And these heavyweights, it gets greasy, especially if you're playing, a volume type game. That's kind of where they're at. Buday is a durable guy that just kind of wants to outwork you. So greasy. I'm going to go with Buday to get the win and for the pick. But yeah, just probably one to lay off. Strawweight bout here. Jacqueline Amorim coming in at -245 against Montserrat Ruiz. Sits at +205. Over under 2.5 rounds, +115 for the over, -145 for the under. A long layoff for Montserrat Ruiz, and not too long of a layoff for Jacqueline Amorim. She made her UFC debut back at UFC 287. She got a loss to Sam Hughes by decision. Almost submitted her in the first round, and then Sam Page takes over in round 2 and round 3. It looked like Amorim just gassed out. Considering she had finished all of her opponents in the first round, that's kind of what we were wondering. Can she go 3 rounds? Showed she couldn't. Comes in here as a big favorite against Ruiz, who, as I said earlier, is coming off of long layoff. Her last time out was 2021, so 2 years ago. And she got knocked out in the first round, 35 seconds in to Amanda Lemos. Just caught her with a big right hand and sent her flying onto her face. But before that, she had a win over Cheyenne Vlismas by decision back in 2021. And that was a good win at the time. I mean, she just took her down and dominated her on the ground. In this one, are you playing with fire taking her down? Possibly. But Sam Hughes was able to take her down as well. And I don't want to say was safe, because she was not really safe in the first round on the ground with her. But at the same time, she just kind of outlasted her. I wonder if Amorim has got, the cardio fixed after that, or if it was just that's going to be a reoccurring thing. But women's MMA, Amorim was a big favorite in that fight. She lost. This one, she's another big favorite. So it's kind of tough to get behind that, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't like it that she's a big favorite here after that performance we saw. I mean, I don't know if it's the cardio or if it's the UFC debut, the adrenaline dump, that kind of thing, and just maybe blowing out her arms in that first round, because she did have Sam Hughes dead to rights, I thought at least. I thought the sub was locked in and under the chin. I thought she was going to put her out of there. And, Sam Hughes is tough. She's a vet. She knows how to survive. Like, I don't know if we can say the same for Ruiz yet. We haven't really seen much of her at this level. And, when she's in there with Lemos, gets knocked out right away. So I think Amorim is better than obviously her last performance. I think she is a savage on the ground. I know Ruiz, can get the takedowns as well and do work there as well. We've seen in the past she's got 3 finishes by submission. couple by KO as well. Maybe her hands got a little bit better hands than Jasmine or Jacqueline. But I do think Amorim should win this fight. You watch them side by side. Amorim's probably better on the ground. I do think the fight gets there at some point or the other, whether it's Amorim pulling guard or getting a takedown herself. It's obvious that that's where she wants to fight. So she had a lot of hype behind her coming into that Sam Hughes fight too. Yeah. And I just, mix that in with her UFC debut in front of a live crowd. I believe it was on the early pay-per-view card. I just think that she's better than that, and she's probably going to fix some holes and, hopefully, get the win here. I think she could find the sub. It wasn't on a pay-per-view card, was it? Yeah, it was 287. So,
yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this one is
greasy. It's greasy.
I'm not going to touch Amorim by any means as far as, the money line goes. I would probably tend to just say dog or pass in this one because I just don't trust her after that. I would at least want to see her look better, or at least, go back to the drawing board and maybe look better with some skills or show some type of improvements. Because even on the feet, she didn't look very good against Sam Hughes, who's like, she's not high level. Like you look at Ruiz getting knocked out by Amanda Lemos. It's not the worst thing because she's fighting for a title now. So with the long layoff too, I kind of, at least hope she gains some kind of skills and she comes back. It looks better. It looks like she's been in the gym and she's been getting better. She's got a neck tat. So I always love that on women fighters if I'm going to put money on them. But yeah, I'm probably just going to say dog or pass. For the sake of the show, I'm going to take Ruiz and just hope that Jacqueline is, taking a fight and thinking that she could just go in there and do the same thing and get a different outcome. But yeah, I'm going to go dog or pass.
Ruiz is built too. You look at her. She looks like a dog. Yeah.
She's small, but she is, strong, and she is 10th planet jiu-jitsu gal. So hopefully that jiu-jitsu can hold up. Flyweight fight here. Luana Santos making her UFC debut, coming in at -145 against Juliana Miller, sitting at +115, over under 2.5 rounds. -220 for the over, +180 for the under. Believe it or not, Luana Santos making her UFC debut has more professional experience than Juliana Miller, who sits at 3-2 and 4-1 her last 5 for Luana Santos. 23 years of age for her, 27 years of age for Juliana Miller, who had a really rough outing her last time out, as she was a sizable underdog against Veronica Hardy, who came back after a long layoff, and she looked rough out there. That was, you got to remember that was her only her 5th professional fight, so it's tough to knock her too much, but she did not look like a -420 favorite by any means. Probably not at any point in the fight. And she took a beating in that one. Just looked really, really bad. And this one against Luana Santos looks like the books are putting her out of the dog to a girl making her debut who has 3 submission wins and 2 by decision. Her only loss is to Jenna Bishop, who is undefeated, a 37-year-old undefeated mixed martial artist who's like world-class jiu-jitsu gal. And that's her only loss for Luana Santos. But
it was a split too.
It was a split. Yeah, it was a close fight. So, coming in here against Juliana Miller, do you think she can get it done in her debut?
Man, it feels like one of those spots where Juliana Miller is going to look a lot better should look a lot better than her UFC debut, just because she looks so bad, man. It was almost like she was fighting in slow-mo. You could see it on her face from before the fight even started. Like, I don't know if she was nervous or what the deal was, but something was off. And I wish that I could go to Juliana Miller's Instagram and see that she's been training her ass off and, wanting to get that back, but you just don't. Like, she's partying, she's doing broadcasting and announcing for these lower level regional scene promotions. And it just doesn't give me a good vibe that she's fully committed to this. She's got the whole online presence that she's super into. Not a striker by any means, looked pretty lost on the feet. And she looked like she had a size advantage against Brogan Walker, even Veronica Hardy. And that's where you think like, okay, she can use that length and leverage, get the back, throw up a triangle, something. she's only 1 inch taller than Luana Santos here. And if you look at Santos's record, her 3 wins by submission are pretty decent. Like, she's got 5 wins on her pro career, 3 are by submission. So she's not a slouch on the ground. She's going to know what she's doing. Just can't give your back up to Juliana Miller. And if she doesn't, I think she wins this fight. I really do. Like you said, her only loss is to Jenna Bishop, who's undefeated, pretty damn good. And it was a split decision loss. I mean, she's world-class jiu-jitsu, and she, went to the scorecards and had a chance to win. So it makes me think that she's going to have a chance to win against Miller here too. But MMA is weird. Women's MMA is weird. Juliana Miller could look like a completely different fighter here. I mean, maybe she looks like she did against Brogan Walker. I just think it's going to take more than that, even still, to beat Luana Santos here. So it's dicey. I'm going to stick with Santos just because I don't know how. It's kind of like Jamie Pickett. Like, how can you pick Juliana Miller after that last fight? So I'm going to go Luana Santos here. Kind of a greasy fight, though. Probably staying away on the betting side.
Yeah, so it's just like super weird to look at because Juliana Miller, she dominated on the ground in the tough finale against Brogan Walker, and then comes out against Veronica Hardy. And we see in the past, like, Veronica Hardy has struggled against girls that'll take her down and just kind of outmuscle her. And Veronica Hardy ends up taking her down 4 times. Juliana Miller has she's got good jiu-jitsu. Like, both of these girls have good jiu-jitsu. And we saw Juliana Miller from her back throw up a good amount of submission attempts, but it just wasn't enough to lock anything in. And she ultimately just got dominated. And look at here with Luana Santos. If Santos can take the fight to Juliana Miller, I think that's just where she struggles, is when the fight's being taken to her. The fight against Brogan Walker, like, Juliana Miller was able to take it to her and take her to the ground and do work on top. If Luana Santos goes and takes down Juliana Miller, I think she wins this fight. Also, the Brogan Walker win doesn't age well whatsoever. Right. So there's that. For the sake of the show, I'm going to go with Luana Santos. But very greasy fight. I mean, you're talking 2 girls with 6 or less professional fights, and we're getting them on the opener of a fight night in the Apex. Probably not one you want to get too invested in. But for the sake of the show, I'm going to go with Luana Santos.
Yeah, last thing I'll say about this one, if you look at Juliana Miller online after her first loss in the UFC, like, she was super depressed, almost contemplating, like, if this is even what she wants to do anymore. Like, she was at that level. Her stories, her posts were, like, very, very depressing. It was clear that she wasn't in a good mental spot. Like, has she contemplated retiring? Like, is she fully in? Like, it's hard to tell if she's fully committed to this. And if she does want to try to play that game off of her back, I just think she's not going to beat Luana Santos off of her back in this one. Like, she's going to have to be the one on top, and I don't know if she can get it there. So I just think Luana Santos gets this thing done.
Those are the picks for UFC Vegas 78. I think it is, or at least that's what I have tracked right now. UFC Vegas 78, but it's Luque versus Dos Anjos. Once again, if you want the bets, hit the link in the description to get in on the premium membership, or you can wait until they're available for instant download on Friday. Stay up to date with that on the Instagram at the double leg to get the updates on when that is posted. But other than that, if you're watching here on YouTube, drop a subscription to support the channel. Hit the like button for us. You can follow us on the medias at HeyJai Picks for me. Where can they find you?
At the Parlay MMA on all social medias.
All right. Appreciate all the support. And we'll see you in the recap for UFC Vegas 78. Good luck on the Contender Series and good luck this weekend. The double leg signing out.